Hey everyone, buckle up, because today we're diving into 8 true creepy stories from quiet small towns. These are real accounts from folks who've lived through some seriously unsettling stuff in those sleepy little places across America where everybody knows everybody, or so they think. Before we get into the stories, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon. We got way more terrifying tales coming your way soon. Story 1. The Watcher in Willow Creek, Maine. You know that feeling when you're driving through a tiny town late at night, and it just feels like someone's eyes are burning into the back of your head? Yeah, that's how this one starts. I grew up in Willow Creek, a little spot in rural Maine with maybe 800 people, tucked away in the pine forest where cell service is a joke and the nearest real town is an hour away. It's the kind of place where folks leave their doors unlocked and everybody waves at passing cars. I moved away for college back in 2012, but I'd come home for breaks to visit my folks. One winter weekend, I was staying at my parents' old farmhouse on the edge of town. The house backs right up to thick woods, no neighbors for a half-mile in any direction. That Friday night, it was snowing hard, the kind of quiet blizzard where the world just goes silent under a blanket of white. I was up late watching TV in the living room when I heard it. A soft crunching outside, like footsteps in the fresh snow. At first, I figured it was a deer or maybe the wind shifting branches. But it kept going, slow and deliberate, circling the house. I peeked out the window, but with the snow coming down and no porch light on, I couldn't see much, just shadows moving between the trees. I shrugged it off and went to bed around midnight. But around 2 a.m., I woke up to the same sound, crunch, 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 right under my window. This time, it stopped, dead silence. Then, a faint tapping on the glass. 3 slow taps. My heart dropped. I froze under the covers, not daring to move. After what felt like forever, the footsteps started again, fading into the woods. The next morning, I told my dad about it. He laughed it off at first, said it was probably kids messing around. But when we went out to check, there were footprints all around the house, big boot prints, circling multiple times, stopping right at each window. They led from the woods, looped the house, and went back the same way. No car tracks on the driveway. Nothing. Dad got quiet then. He said, best not to talk about it too much. Over the next few days, it happened again. Not every night, but enough. I'd hear the circling, the tapping. One night, I shined a flashlight out the window and caught a glimpse, a tall figure in dark clothes, just standing there at the tree line, staring back, face hidden under a hood. But I swear it was watching the house like it knew exactly where I was. I cut my visit short and left early. When I asked around town before going, folks got weird. The diner owner said, "Oh, that's just a watcher. Been around these woods for years." Nobody would say more, but apparently it's happened to other houses on the outskirts. People move away quietly or just stop talking about it. Years later, I looked it up online, nothing official, but old forum posts from locals mentioned the same thing. A figure that watches isolated homes in winter, circles them, taps the windows. Some say it's an old hermit who went crazy after losing his family in a fire back in the 80s. Others think it's someone escaped from the old asylum up north before it closed. Whatever it is, I haven't gone back to Willow Creek since. And if you're ever driving through rural Maine in winter, keep your windows up and don't stop if you feel like you're being watched. Story 2. The Silent Farm in Harlan, Iowa. Man, small town Iowa in the summer. Cornfields as far as the eye can see. And nights so quiet you can hear your own heartbeat. This happened to my buddy Jake back in 2008. He was driving cross-country, taking back roads to avoid highways, and ended up near Harlan, this tiny farming community in western Iowa. Population under 500, mostly old families who've been there generations. It was getting dark, and Jake needed a place to crash. He saw a sign for a bed and breakfast on an old farm road, hand-painted, looked quaint. Figured it'd be cheaper than a motel. He pulls up to this big Victorian farmhouse, surrounded by endless corn. Lights on inside, but no cars in the drive except an old pickup. He knocks, and this elderly couple answers. Husband and wife, both in their 70s, super polite but quiet. Like, Unnaturally quiet. They show him to a room upstairs, say breakfast at 7, and that's it. No small talk, no questions about where he's from. Jake settles in, but the house is dead silent. No TV, no radio, nothing. He goes to bed early, around midnight. He wakes up thirsty and heads downstairs for water. The kitchen light is on, but nobody around. As he's filling a glass, he hears it, faint whispering from the basement door. Curious, he creeps over and listens. Voices, multiple, murmuring low. Couldn't make out words, but it sounded like a group. He thinks maybe family visiting, shrugs, goes back to bed. Next morning, breakfast is ready. The couple there, smiling, but still no talking. Jake tries chatting. Nice farm you got here. How long you lived in Harlan? Nothing. Just nods and more food, pushes away. He pays and leaves, but something bugs him. On the way out, he notices the cornfields, tall but trampled in spots, like paths leading from the house deeper in. Later that week, Jake mentions it to a friend from Iowa. Friend goes pale. Dude, that farm? It's abandoned. Been empty since the 90s when the old couple died in a fire. Locals say no one's lived there for decades. Jake checks online. Sure enough, news clippings about a fire that killed the owners. House supposedly boarded up. But the creepiest part? When Jake looked at photos he'd taken the place. In one window upstairs, there's a reflection, multiple shadowy figures standing behind where he was sitting at breakfast. He never went back to Iowa back roads after that. And folks in Harlan? They don't talk about that farm. Ever. Story 3. The Whispers on Seven Sisters Road, Nebraska. Okay, picture this. You're driving down a dark, winding country road in rural Nebraska at midnight. Hills rising up on both sides like silent sentinels. And out of nowhere, your car radio starts picking up faint, distant screams. Women's voices, pleading, overlapping in the static. That's the kind of night that kicks off the story. Before I dive in, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We got plenty more bone-chilling real accounts like this lined up, and you don't want to miss them. This one comes from my friend Sarah, who shared it with me a couple years back. She's from Omaha, but in 2015, she was road tripping with her then boyfriend Mark across the Midwest. They were heading south from Lincoln toward Kansas City, taking the back roads because Mark hated interstates. Said they were too boring, no real America out there. It was late October, foggy and cold, the kind of night where the corn stubble in the fields looks like jagged teeth under the moonlight. They turned off the main highway near Nebraska City onto the stretch locals call Seven Sisters Road. Officially, it's just County Road L, a gravel and dirt path that dips and climbs over 7 steep hills in Odo County. Population around there? Barely a handful of farms scattered miles apart. The nearest real town is maybe 20 minutes away, and cell service is spotty at best. Sarah said at first it was kind of romantic. No traffic, just the fog rolling in low, and the radio playing soft classic rock. But as they crested the first hill, the station started cutting out. Static, then nothing. Mark fiddled with the dial, and suddenly these whispers came through. Soft at first, like wind through trees, but then clearer. Women's voices, murmuring words they couldn't quite make out. Sarah laughed it off, said it was probably some CB radio bleed from truckers, but Mark got quiet. By the third hill, the whispers turned into faint cries. Not loud, but insistent. Overlapping, like several people talking at once, pleading or arguing. Sarah rolled down the window to see if it was coming from outside, and that's when the car engine sputtered. Just once, like it hiccuped then steadied. The air smelled weird too, earthy, with a hint of something burnt. Mark sped up a bit, joking about getting off haunted hillbilly highway, but Sarah wasn't laughing anymore. She knew the legend. Everyone from around there does. Back in the early 1900s, supposedly a family lived out there, parents and their 7 daughters. The brother, or some say the father, went insane one night. Stories vary. Some say arguments over land, others jealousy or worse. But he lured each sister out, one by one, to a different hill and hung them from trees. 7 hills, 7 sisters. Locals say on quiet nights, especially foggy ones, you hear them, whispering secrets, crying for help, or screaming when cars pass too close. They didn't believe it, of course. Urban legend stuff. But as they hit the 5th hill, the radio went dead silent. Then, clear as day, a woman's voice right through the speakers. "Help, please?" Sarah swears it sounded like it was inside the car. Mark floored it, but the engine died completely on the 6th hill. Car rolled to a stop in total darkness. No headlights from other vehicles, no house lights in sight, just those rolling hills swallowed by fog. They sat there frozen for a minute, hearts pounding. Mark tried restarting. Nothing. Battery was fine, lights worked, but the engine wouldn't turn over. Sarah grabbed her phone. No signal. They could hear it then outside, soft rustling in the ditches, like footsteps in the dry grass. Circling slow. And the whispers again, but fainter, coming from the hills themselves. Multiple voices, echoing faintly. Names, maybe, or please. Mark got out with a flashlight to check under the hood. Sarah locked the doors behind him. He was out there maybe 5 minutes, swearing under his breath, when he shined the light toward the tree line on one hill. Sarah saw it from the car. Shadows moving between the bare branches, tall and thin, swaying like something hanging, but shifting in the wind that wasn't blowing. He jumped back in, slammed the door. "We gotta push it to the next hill, get a run, start downhill." They did, both pushing, car rolling silent down the gravel. On the 7th hill, as it picked up speed, Mark jumped in and pop-started it. Engine roared back to life just as they crested the top. They didn't stop until they hit the highway, white-knuckled the whole way. Next morning, in daylight, Mark checked the car. Nothing wrong. Battery full. No issues. They asked around Nebraska City at a gas station, casual-like, "Hey, anything weird about that road out there?" The attendant went pale, muttered about the sisters, and how folks avoid it after dark. Said cars stall all the time, radios pick up voices, and sometimes people see figures in the trees. Or worse, reflections in mirrors of women standing behind you in the back seat. Sarah and Mark broke up a year later. Unrelated, she says, but she hasn't driven back roads in Nebraska since. And get this, a few months after telling me the story, she sent me a photo from her phone that night. In the rear-view mirror shot she took while waiting for Mark, blurry from fog and panic, there's a faint outline in the back seat. Pale faces, maybe 3 or 4, pressed close, watching. Locals still debate if it's true history or just a tall tale to scare kids. No records of the hangings, but old-timers swear the hills were used for worse back in pioneer days. Disputes settle quiet-like, bodies hidden. Whatever it is, if you're ever near Nebraska City and the fog rolls in, take the long way around. Those whispers don't stop once you've heard them. Story 4, the unwelcoming hamlet of Allentown, New York. Imagine pulling into a tiny backroad hamlet in upstate New York on a foggy autumn afternoon, expecting a quaint little stop with maybe an old general store or a gas pump. But instead, every curtain twitches as you drive by, and you get the unmistakable feeling that you're not supposed to be there. Like the whole place is holding its breath until you leave. Before we get into this one, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. We got even darker small town stories coming up that you won't want to miss. This story was told to me by my cousin's husband, Tom, who swears it's true. Back in 2011, Tom was on a solo motorcycle trip through the Adirondacks and Saratoga County area. He loves those winding back roads, the kind with no cell service and farms stretching out forever. He was heading from Albany up toward Lake George, taking the scenic route, when he decided to detour onto this little unmarked road because his map showed a shortcut through a place called Allentown. Allentown isn't even really a town. It's more like a hamlet in the town of Saratoga County. Population, maybe a couple dozen if that. All the houses are old, clustered along one dirt and gravel road that dead ends into woods. Tom said as soon as he turned onto it, things fell off. No signs welcoming you. No businesses. Just a handful of weathered farmhouses and trailers set back from the road. He was low on gas and figured he'd ask someone for directions or if there was a station nearby. He pulls up slow to the first house, a big Victorian with peeling paint, and knocks. No answer. Peeks in the window. Curtains pulled, but he swears he saw movement inside. Tries the next place. Same thing. By the third house. He's getting that prickly feeling on the back of his neck, like he's being watched from every window. Then he spots a guy out in a field, working on a tractor. Tom waves, rides over slow. The guy, mid-50s, overalls, bald cap, straightens up and just stares. Doesn't wave back, doesn't smile. Tom kills the engine and says, "Hey, sorry to bother you. Looking for the quickest way to Route 9N, and maybe a gas station." The guy doesn't say a word at first, just looks Tom up and down, then finally mutters, "You ain't from around here." Tom laughs it off, says no, just passing through. The guy points vaguely down the road and says, "Keep going straight, don't stop," then turns back to his tractor like the conversation's over. Tom thanks him and heads on, but now he's really uneasy. As he rides deeper into the hamlet, he notices all the mailboxes have the same last name, Allen, every single one, and the houses all look related somehow. Same style porches, same faded red barns. He passes a little cemetery off to the side, old stones, and yeah, mostly Allen going back generations. He gets to what seems like the center, maybe 4 houses around a crossroads, and there's an old woman rocking on a porch. She stops rocking as he goes by and just stares. No wave, no nod. Tom said the silence was deafening. No kids playing, no dogs barking, nothing. Just that heavy, watchful quiet. He finally reaches the end of the road, where it turns into a dirt track into the woods. No outlet, no throughway. He has to turn around and head back the way he came. Now he's really creeping along, and that's when he sees it. Pickup trucks parked in driveways that weren't there before, guys standing outside with arms crossed, watching him leave. One truck pulls out behind him, slow, keeping distance but following all the way to the main road. Tom didn't stop until he hit a gas station 20 miles away, heart pounding the whole time. He looked up Allentown later that night in his motel. Found old articles from the 90s about how it's this isolated community where pretty much everyone shares the surname Allen, descended from a few original families. Locals from nearby towns have stories about outsiders getting run off, trucks chasing cars out, warnings not to come back after dark. Some say it's just extreme privacy. The families have been there forever and don't like strangers poking around. Others whisper darker stuff, old feuds, protecting secrets, maybe even something buried in that little cemetery. Tom asked around Saratoga Springs the next day, casual like, at a diner. The waitress got quiet and said, "Yeah, folks avoid Allentown. They keep to themselves. Real tight-knit." Then changed the subject quick. The creepiest part? A few years later, Tom was scrolling through some old photos on his phone and zoomed in on one he'd snapped at the cemetery as he rode by. Blurry, but in the background behind the stones, there are figures standing in the tree lean. Tall, still just watching. He swears they weren't there when he took the picture. He would have seen them. Allentown's still there, quiet as ever. If you're ever up in Saratoga County taking back roads, maybe stick to the main ones. Some small towns don't mind visitors, but others, they make it real, clear you're not welcome.